A strange thing happens whenever the world enters a crisis. The news says everyone is suffering equally. The headlines speak as if the storm falls on all people in the same way. But reality tells a different story. Because while many lose everything, some quietly rise. While one family collapses under pressure, another becomes stronger. While one business disappears, another expands. While some are paralyzed by fear, others seem to move with unusual clarity. And that raises an uncomfortable question. If the same crisis touched everyone, why didn't it produce the same result? Most people believe crisis creates winners and losers. It doesn't. Crisis reveals what was already there. It exposes who was living on appearances. It exposes who built life on debt, ego, and false security. It exposes who depended on conditions staying comfortable. And it also reveals who prepared in silence, who built discipline when nobody was watching, who learned to think clearly before chaos ever arrived. A drought does not destroy strong roots. It only proves where roots never existed. That is why some people seem cursed during hard times, while others somehow prosper in the exact same environment. Not because they are luckier, not because God chose favorites, not because they had secret information, but because pressure uncovers structure. And thousands of years ago, one man demonstrated this principle in a way that still confuses people today. His name was Isaac. He lived during famine, scarcity, uncertainty, fear. The kind of season where most people shrink, retreat, and protect what little remains. Yet in that same season, Isaac prospered. Not later. Not after the famine. During it. That single story destroys one of the biggest lies modern people believe, that you must wait for conditions to improve before you can rise. Maybe the real reason some lose everything in crisis is because crisis removes the excuses they were hiding behind. And maybe the reason others prosper begins with a decision most people are too afraid to make. Because Isaac did something in famine that almost nobody would dare do now. And that is where everything changes. Whenever crisis arrives, most people do the same thing. They react, not think, not observe, not reposition, react. That reaction rarely looks traumatic at first. It looks reasonable, responsible even. People say they are being cautious. They say they are protecting themselves. They say they are waiting for certainty. But underneath those words is usually the same force wearing different clothes. Fear. Fear makes people freeze opportunities they would have embraced in calmer times. Fear makes them sell valuable things at the worst possible moment. Fear convinces them that survival means shrinking, hiding, postponing every bold move until some imaginary perfect season returns. And because millions think this way together, panic begins to look intelligent. The crowd creates emotional gravity. If everyone is afraid, fear feels wise. If everyone is retreating, retreat feels safe. If everyone is predicting collapse, courage starts to feel foolish. This is how people lose twice. First, they lose confidence. Then they lose assets, time, momentum, and years they can never recover. Crisis has a cruel way of magnifying habits that were already dangerous. A person who overspends becomes desperate. A person who depends on one income source becomes fragile. A person who never learned patience becomes impulsive. A person who built identity around appearances suddenly cannot maintain the image. Pressure reveals what comfort was hiding. Many people think they are making financial decisions during hard times, but they are really making emotional decisions disguised as financial logic. They cancel growth plans out of panic. They abandon long-term strategies because of short-term headlines. They stop learning, stop building, stop planting, stop believing anything can move forward. Then years later, they call it bad luck. But it was not luck. It was crowd psychology. History repeats this pattern constantly. Markets fall and people sell low. Opportunities appear and people feel too scared to act. Skills become valuable, and people delay learning them until the window closes. Businesses can be bought cheaply, land becomes available, partnerships emerge, but the majority is too consumed by fear to notice what changed. That is why crisis often transfers wealth instead of destroying it. Resources move from the emotional to the disciplined, from the impatient to the prepared, from those ruled by headlines to those guided by principles. The crowd usually asks, "How do I avoid pain?" But wiser people ask a different question. What becomes possible now that was impossible before? That question changes everything. Because the same storm that pushes many backward can also clear the path for someone ready to move forward. And this is exactly why the story of Isaac matters so much. He did not follow the emotional logic of the crowd. He saw something deeper in the middle of famine, something most people still miss today. There is a moment in Scripture that many people read too quickly. A famine had struck the land. Scarcity was spreading. Uncertainty was everywhere. The normal instinct in that kind of season is simple. Leave, run, preserve what remains, follow wherever survival appears easiest. That is exactly what most people around Isaac were thinking. Move now. Escape now. Find safer ground. Wait until conditions improve somewhere else. And on the surface, that sounds wise. But wisdom and instinct are not always the same thing. According to Bible, Isaac was preparing to go toward Egypt, the place many saw as security in times of famine. Egypt represented systems, supply, visible stability, a place people trusted when their own land looked dry. How modern that sounds. Whenever life becomes uncertain, people run toward what looks established. They run toward the crowd, toward familiar systems, toward whatever appears strongest from the outside. But Isaac received different direction. Stay. Remain in the land. Plant here. That instruction makes no sense to the fearful mind. Why stay in dry ground? Why sow in famine? Why commit effort when results look unlikely? Why build when others are escaping? Because visible conditions are not the highest reality. Many people only move when evidence comforts them. They need signs, guarantees, perfect timing, social proof, momentum already happening. By then, the best window is often gone. Isaac moved by principle before proof. He sowed in a season where others were conserving seed. Think about that carefully. Seed during famine becomes emotionally precious. People cling to it, they protect it, they eat it, they save it, they stare at it. But seed kept in the hand can preserve fear. Seed placed in the ground can create future. That difference separates survivors from builders. The story says Isaac reaped 100-fold in that same year. Not years later, not after markets recovered, not after weather changed, in the same hostile environment that convinced others nothing good was possible. This is one of the deepest wealth principles hidden in plain sight. Prosperity is not always born from abundance. Sometimes it is born from scarcity correctly interpreted. Because famine changes behavior. Competition drops, prices distort, land opens. New needs appear. Old assumptions break. Doors that were crowded become empty. Paths blocked in easy seasons become available in hard ones. Others saw drought. Isaac saw positioning. Others saw danger only. Isaac saw timing. Others followed visible logic. Isaac followed disciplined conviction. That does not mean reckless optimism. It does not mean pretending risk is not real. It means understanding that when everyone responds emotionally, clear thinking becomes rare and therefore valuable. Isaac's harvest was not magic separated from action. It came through obedience, courage, patience, and the willingness to plant when planting felt irrational. And that raises a confronting question for anyone listening now. What seed are you holding because conditions look wrong? What move have you delayed because the crowd is nervous? What field looks dry today, but may contain your next harvest. When people study success during hard times, they often focus on outcomes. They notice the person who bought assets cheaply, the family that stayed stable, the entrepreneur who grew while competitors disappeared, the investor who moved at the right time. But outcomes are the final chapter. The real story begins with internal codes most people never see, because those who prosper in crisis usually share invisible habits formed long before the crisis ever arrived. The first code is margin. They do not live at the edge of collapse when times are good. They build breathing room, cash reserves, lower obligations, skills that travel, relationships built on trust, flexibility in lifestyle. They understand that freedom often looks boring before it becomes powerful. Many people laugh at preparation during easy seasons, until hard seasons arrive. Then the person with margin suddenly looks lucky. The second code is emotional discipline. In chaos, information becomes noisy. Opinions multiply. Predictions grow extreme. Every day brings new reasons to panic or overreact. Those who prosper know that urgency is not always truth. They slow down when others speed up emotionally. They ask better questions. They separate facts from fear. They refuse to let headlines rent space inside their nervous system. That calmness becomes a competitive advantage, because panic creates bad timing. The third code is long-term sight. Most people in crisis only ask, "How do I get through this month?" Wise people also ask, "What will matter 3 years from now?" That perspective changes decisions completely. While others cut every investment in growth, they continue learning. While others stop building networks, they deepen relationships. While others abandon health, they strengthen discipline. While others pause skill development, they become more valuable. They know crisis ends. And when it ends, those who kept planting emerge ahead. The fourth code is selective courage. Not reckless risk, not gambling disguised as bravery. Selective courage means acting where odds improve because others withdrew. Sometimes it is starting the business when competitors became complacent. Sometimes it is buying quality assets when fear discounts them. Sometimes it is changing career direction while others cling to dead structures. Sometimes it is simply staying consistent while everyone else becomes unstable. This is where many misunderstand the story of Isaac. He did not prosper because crisis is magical. He prospered because crisis rewards structure. Famine removed illusions. It exposed who depended on easy conditions. It created openings invisible to those ruled by fear. And the same pattern still exists now. Every recession creates discounted opportunities. Every disruption creates unmet needs. Every panic creates undervalued assets. Every unstable season rewards reliable people. The crowd sees crisis as one giant wall. Disciplined people see hidden doors inside the wall. The fifth code is identity. Some people see themselves as victims of seasons. Others see themselves as stewards within seasons. That difference is massive. Victims wait for rescue. Stewards ask what can be managed now. Victims surrender agency. Stewards multiply what remains. Victims talk about what was lost. Stewards reorganize what is left. This is why two people can stand in the same storm and leave with opposite futures. One was waiting for comfort. The other was building capacity. And if you look closely, prosperity in crisis often starts before money appears. It starts when someone refuses to think like everyone else. Because once the mind exits panic, hands begin to move wisely. And wise movement during chaos is often the seed of uncommon harvest. If crisis can elevate some people, it can also expose others with brutal speed. Many do not lose everything because the storm was too strong. They lose because they were already fragile before the storm began. Crisis simply removes the mask. Some people build lives that only function under perfect conditions. Income must remain steady. Expenses must stay manageable. Credit must stay available. Markets must stay optimistic. Health must stay stable. Relationships must stay easy. That is not strength. That is dependence disguised as success. The moment one pillar shakes, the whole structure trembles. This is why debt becomes so dangerous in uncertain seasons. Debt demands payment whether you are ready or not. It does not care about layoffs, illness, market downturns, or emotional exhaustion. When times are easy, leverage can look intelligent. When pressure arrives, leverage becomes chains. The person who seemed wealthy may simply have been highly financed. The business that looked powerful may have been surviving on borrowed oxygen. The lifestyle that looked impressive may have been one delayed paycheck away from panic. Crisis reveals the difference between ownership and appearance. Another reason some lose everything is identity attachment. They become loyal to a version of life that no longer works. A job title, a business model, a social image, a spending level, a routine built for another season. Instead of adapting, they defend the past. They keep paying for symbols they can no longer sustain. They refuse to learn new tools because old methods once worked. They wait for the world to become familiar again. But crisis rarely rewards nostalgia. It rewards adaptation. Some also lose because they confuse movement with progress. They react constantly. New schemes, emotional decisions, selling low, buying high, chasing headlines, listening to every loud voice, starting 5 things and finishing none. They are busy, but not building. Stress makes motion feel productive, but random motion often deepens loss. Then there is the silent destroyer, pride. Pride prevents downsizing when necessary. Pride delays asking for help. Pride resists learning. Pride keeps people performing strength while weakness grows in private. Many fortunes collapse slowly in silence before they collapse publicly in one event. And perhaps the deepest reason some lose everything is this: they never built internal wealth. No discipline, no patience, no emotional control, no skill depth, no faith under pressure, no ability to function when comfort disappears. So when external resources shrink, nothing inside can stabilize them. This is why 2 bank accounts with the same number can produce different futures. One person has capacity behind the money. Another only has money. When crisis hits, capacity keeps generating. Money alone evaporates. The story of Isaac shows the opposite path. He did not depend on easy seasons to function. He carried structure within himself. And that may be the real dividing line in every hard time. Some people need conditions to be good in order to do well. Others know how to do well, even when conditions are not good. The second group rarely loses everything, because what matters most was never outside them to begin with. It is easy to admire ancient wisdom and never translate it into modern life. Many people hear the story of Isaac and treat it like inspiration instead of instruction. But the principle only changes lives when it becomes practical. So what does planting in famine look like now? First, it means building value when others are distracted. During difficult seasons, many people stop learning. They postpone growth. They consume anxiety all day and call it awareness. This creates an opening. If you use the same season to gain rare skills, improve communication, learn sales, understand money, master technology, or deepen discipline, you are planting while others are frozen. When recovery comes, your harvest often appears as higher income, better opportunities, and unusual confidence. Second, it means protecting liquidity. Not every seed should be planted at once. Wisdom includes reserves. Cash flow, emergency funds, low obligations, manageable expenses, and flexible commitments give you the power to move when opportunities appear. Many people miss their best moment because they are trapped by monthly burdens. Freedom often arrives through simplicity before abundance. Third, it means buying quality when fear discounts it. In every downturn, valuable things become temporarily mispriced. Businesses, assets, partnerships, talent, even attention. The crowd sees danger only. The prepared person sees value plus patience. This does not mean reckless speculation. It means calm evaluation when others are emotional. Fourth, it means becoming reliable while others become unstable. When stress rises, many people break promises, disappear, lower standards, or operate from panic. If you become the person who stays steady, communicates clearly, delivers consistently, and keeps integrity under pressure, you become rare. And rare people attract opportunity. Fifth, it means sowing relationships. Hard times reveal character quickly. Supporting others, solving problems, helping without immediate reward. Maintaining trust, these seeds often return multiplied years later. Some of the greatest doors in life open through relationships built during difficult seasons. Sixth, it means refusing psychological famine. External shortage is one thing. Internal shortage is another. Some people have enough resources, but still think like they are doomed. They hoard, panic, compare, shrink, and sabotage themselves. The Isaac principle requires a different inner posture. Disciplined hope, not fantasy, not denial. Hope expressed through action. Planting one skill, one habit, one connection, one investment, one courageous move at a time. Because harvest rarely arrives as one miracle. It usually arrives through consistent seeds placed in hard ground. And maybe that is the modern challenge in front of you now, where everyone else sees a closed season. Can you identify one field still worth planting in? Because the answer to that question may decide who you become when this season passes. Another crisis will come. No one knows its exact form, its timing, or the headline that will announce it. But history is clear. Cycles return. Pressure returns. Seasons change again and again. The real question is not whether another crisis is coming. The real question is who you will be when it arrives. Some people spend calm years consuming everything easy seasons provide. They build no reserves, deepen no skills, strengthen no character, question no habits. Comfort becomes their trainer. Then pressure comes, and they discover comfort taught them nothing. Others use calm seasons differently. They prepare quietly. They simplify what needs simplifying. They strengthen what is weak. They learn what will matter later. They build margin. They plant seeds nobody applauds yet. They become stable before stability is needed. So when disruption comes, they do not start from zero. They start from readiness. That is the hidden power behind the story of Isaac. His harvest did not begin the day he planted. It began in the kind of person he had already become before famine arrived. And that may be the deepest truth of all. Crisis rarely creates identity. It reveals identity. If fear rules you now in small things, fear will likely rule you later in large things. If discipline guides you now in ordinary days, discipline will likely guide you when days become difficult. The future often enters through habits already living in the present. So perhaps the next crisis will not break some people because they were never leaning on fragile things to begin with. And perhaps it will promote others because pressure tends to elevate what has been built well in private. This means your preparation starts now. Not when headlines turn dark. Now. The book you read now. The skill you build now. The debt you remove now. The savings you protect now. The relationships you strengthen now. The courage you practice now. These are seeds. And seeds rarely look impressive in the hand. But in the right season, they become fields. When the next hard season comes, many will ask why some people rose while others fell. They will call it luck. They will call it timing. They will call it privilege. But often the truth is simpler. Some planted before the famine. Some planted during the famine, and some never planted at all.